Fever's Sophie Cunningham blasts Caitlin Clark haters in face of the WNBA debate. The conversation about who really represents the WNBA has intensified in recent years, especially with the arrival of Caitlin Clark, one of the most talked about players in league history. Fans and analysts alike have weighed in, throwing out names like Aya Wilson and Breanna Stewart, established superstars with championships and accolades to back their case. More, Candace Parker rips WNBA All-Stars for "Pay Us What You Owe Us" stunt during Caitlin Clark-less game. But Indiana Fever star Sophie Cunningham isn't buying the debate. On a recent episode of her podcast, Show Me Something, Cunningham made it clear where she stands. "It literally pisses me off when people are like, she's, Caitlin Clark, not the face of the league," Cunningham said. While she acknowledged the legacy and recognition of other top-tier players, she stood firm in her support of her teammate. "There's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them," she said. But for those still doubting Clark's impact, Cunningham didn't hold back. "When people try to argue that she's not the face of our league or our league would be where it's at without her, you're dumb." More, Caitlin Clark gets stamp of approval from Gen Alpha. "Kids say she's better than NBA GOATs." Cunningham didn't hold back in closing the segment, using explicit language to describe those who still question Clark's place in the league. There was no mistaking her point. Clark is the face of the WNBA. The Indiana Fever training facility hummed with the kind of early morning energy only a young, hungry team could generate. Players moved through drills with precision, laughter echoed in the corners, and the thump of basketballs reverberated like a steady heartbeat. But it was Sophie Cunningham who brought the thunder. Her ponytail bounced with every step as she stormed toward the far court, where a small group of reporters had gathered, ready to dissect yet another week of debate over who truly represented the face of the WNBA. And once again, Caitlin Clark's name sat at the center of the storm. Sophie had heard enough. She had heard the sneers from online critics who insisted Clark was overhyped. She had heard the pundits who claimed her popularity was mere marketing. She had heard people diminish her rookie teammates' achievements as though averaging near-historic numbers came with the ease of breathing. But that morning, something inside Sophie snapped into place. Sharp, centered, unshakable. "Let's get this straight," she said as she approached the microphones, crossing her arms, her voice carrying a crisp firmness that silenced the room. "If you're still out here hating on Caitlin Clark, you're embarrassing yourselves." One reporter blinked, stunned. Another lowered his phone slowly, as if unsure whether he was witnessing a PR disaster or a heroic monologue in the making. Sophie continued, her tone growing warmer but no less fierce. "This kid works harder than most people realize. She studies film like it's grad school. She shows up early, stays late, signs every autograph, and carries expectations that would crush most rookies. And somehow, she does it while scoring, assisting, elevating her teammates, and doing it all with class." She glanced over her shoulder. Caitlin was across the gym, finishing a shooting sequence. The rookie had no idea her teammate was mid-tirade on her behalf. The reporters followed Sophie's gaze. Clark's jumper arced high, kissed the net, and fell through with that signature whispering swish that seemed to quiet entire arenas. Sophie gestured toward her. "Tell me that's overhyped." She let that hang in the air before turning back, her expression softening with a mix of admiration and exasperation. "People keep asking whether Caitlin is the face of the WNBA. But that question is missing the point. She's one of the faces, maybe the most visible one right now, and she's earned every ounce of that spotlight." The room remained hushed, recording every breath of the moment. This wasn't Sophie being impulsive. This was Sophie being protective, fiercely so. She had seen Clark get battered on the court, criticized off of it, and scrutinized with a level of intensity rarely applied to rookies in any league. "She's not perfect," Sophie added. "None of us are. But she's elevating the game. Ticket sales went up because of her. Ratings went up because of her. Young girls show up in jerseys with her number because she gives them something to dream about. If that bothers you, that sounds like a you problem." Her words rippled outward, as if carried by the same wind that lifted Caitlin's high-arching threes. Later that afternoon, as practice wrapped up, Caitlin approached Sophie at her locker, eyebrows raised. Heard you caused a little commotion, Caitlin said, folding her arms in mock sternness. Sophie smirked, tossing a towel onto the bench. Oh, that? Just a light morning chat. Aha, Caitlin replied, narrowing her eyes with playful suspicion. You basically burned half the internet alive, didn't you? Sophie shrugged in exaggerated innocence. If the shoe fits. Caitlin sat beside her, the exhaustion of practice mixing with a smile she couldn't quite restrain. You didn't have to do that, you know. Sophie leaned back, stretching her legs. Yeah, I did. People forget how much pressure you're carrying. They see the highlights, the jersey sales, the cameras. But they don't see the work. They don't see how much crap you deal with, and how gracefully you still show up. Someone needs to remind them. Caitlin's expression shifted, landing somewhere between gratitude and disbelief. Still. Thanks. Sophie bumped her shoulder lightly. I've got your back. Always. That evening the clip went viral, of course it did. The sports shows replayed Sophie's comments on a loop. Debates erupted across social media. Fans rallied in support, saying it was about time someone stepped forward to defend the rookie. Even former players chimed in, applauding Sophie's raw honesty. One viral comment summed it up best. She didn't just defend Clark. She defended the future of the league. Because in truth, this moment had very little to do with just one player. Sophie's speech echoed a rising awareness across the WNBA that growth wasn't a threat. That popularity wasn't something to tear down. That elevating one star didn't diminish another. For years, players had fought for visibility, for larger crowds, for endorsement deals that matched their worth. And here was a rookie pulling millions into the sport, yet receiving criticism louder than applause from some corners. Sophie wasn't having it. In the days that followed, the Fever locker room felt lighter, more unified. There was a shared sense that the team wasn't just building chemistry, they were building a culture. When the Fever stepped onto the court for their next home game, the arena shook with energy. Signs danced in the crowd. We stand with Caitlin. Fever family strong. Sophie said what needed to be said. Caitlin glanced at Sophie during warm-ups. Look at what you started. Sophie lifted her chin proudly. Good. Let's give them a show. And they did. Clark dished dazzling assists, draining threes from distances that made defenders pull their hair. Sophie hit timely shots, hustled on defense, and even dove into the scorer's table chasing a loose ball, drawing a roar from the fans.